Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and on the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, Microsoft announces they are pulling a massive conference out of Seattle because of the crime. But before we get to any of that, time for your daily dose of adrenaline.
You want me to stick this into my heart? Are you f***ing nuts?
Are we really back to this again? A Maryland man who was wrongly deported. Are we really doing this again? Every single mainstream media news site, the Maryland man is back. Let me fix this for all of you for a second. The illegal alien, spouse abusing, human trafficking, drug dealing gang member is back. Yes, that's what it really is, if we're going to be real about
Well,
this.
he was still illegally deported, though.
Oh, yes. No. I was going to give that. I was going to say, yes, he was wrongly deported. He had a hold on him for some reason we didn't know. What you guys could have done is gotten rid of the hold. Could have done that. Could have absolutely done that. But can we stop with the Maryland man nonsense? It's like the media is trying to try this case in the court of public opinion. Let's just feel bad for the guy. Now, were there some screw-ups? Absolutely. But this is the guy the Democrats want to defend. This is the guy the media wants to defend. This is like George Floyd all over again. Well, gee, we need somebody who's a symbol of racial injustice. So let's pick the drug-dealing, counterfeiting guy who pointed a gun at a pregnant woman's stomach. That's George Floyd right there. Wow, we're really picking the best people to be the martyrs for our cause. Now, I have a little theory, and maybe this is me being a little conspiratorial, but I think the Trump administration was waiting to bring this guy back because we know they were ordered to by the Supreme Court. I think they were waiting to bring this guy back until their case was so foolproof against him that, sure, we'll give you your day in court, no problem, and then we'll send you right back to El Salvador. Here's Pam Bondi saying what they got Kilmar Abreu Garcia on.
This is especially disturbing because Abrego Garcia is also alleged with transporting minor children. The defendant traded the innocence of minor children for profit. There are even more disturbing facts that the grand jury uncovered. It is alleged this defendant is part of the same smuggling ring responsible for the death of more than 50 migrants in 2021 after the tractor trailer overturned in Mexico. This is part of that same ring. The defendant abused undocumented alien females, according to co-conspirators who were under his control while transporting them throughout our country. This defendant trafficked firearms and narcotics throughout our country on multiple occasions. They were using vehicles, SUVs, with added seats in the back, floors that had been ripped out, guns, narcotics, children, women, MS-13 members. That is what the grand jury found. A co-conspirator alleged that the defendant solicited nude photographs and videos of a minor. A co-conspirator also alleges the defendant played a role in the murder of a rival gang member's mother. These facts demonstrate Abrego Garcia is a danger to our community. We want to thank the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, our state and local partners, our acting U.S. Attorney Robert McGuire, and prosecutors from the Joint Task Force Vulcan.
I love the way she says Mexico. I like that she puts the emphasis on the E in Mexico. Actually, technically an I. But I love the way she says that. But this is the guy that the Democrats are so happy is back. By the way, something else for you, due process. You realize that due process for illegal aliens, especially ones who have had 3 prior court appearances and been proven to be an illegal immigrant who committed multiple crimes beforehand. Due process is a really wide terminology. Due process can mean, all right, we got him in court. Here's the charges against him. Bye-bye. See you. That's due process. You have now fulfilled your obligation. For illegal immigrants who are convicts, who are criminals, it's kind of broad about what due process actually means. So some of the Democrats are crowing about this, but I love how their message has changed from Maryland man, Maryland father, to now it's a due process issue. Mike, what did it take? 3 months or something before they made it a due process issue? Instead, it was the Maryland man. Instead, it was the Maryland father. And when they were losing in the polls, then all of a sudden they changed the narrative over to, oh, it's a due process issue. Now, actually, you've got Democrat Senator Chris Van Hollen, who is now finally using the due process issue as opposed to, well, I just went down there to see how he's doing and have a few margaritas with the Maryland father, with the Maryland man. So actually, Caroline Leavitt torched him. Absolutely torched him in a statement. She said the Justice Department's grand jury indictment against Abreu Garcia proves the unhinged Democratic Party was wrong, and their stenographers in the fake news media were once again played like fools. Abreu Garcia was never an innocent Maryland man. Abreu Garcia is an illegal alien terrorist, gang member, human trafficker who has spent his entire life abusing innocent people, especially women and the most vulnerable. Abreu Garcia will now return to the United States to answer for his crimes and meet the full force of American justice. The Democratic lawmakers, namely Democrat Senator Chris Van Hollen, and every single so-called journalist who defended this illegal criminal abuser, must immediately apologize to Garcia's victims. The Trump administration will continue to hold criminals accountable to the fullest extent of the law. Signed, Caroline Leavitt. Love that woman. So, she's 100% right. 100% right, and we see the media doubling down on it again. Every single media outlet is going with the Maryland man, Maryland father again, against this career criminal, gang member, abuser, human trafficking, drug dealer. That's who you guys want to defend? You do you. Speaking of people who pick some insane people to defend, Bob Ferguson, our very own Bob Ferguson. I was wondering when he was going to weigh in on Trump's new travel ban because let's not forget, when Turd Ferguson was the Attorney General of Washington State, he was the one who led the charge against the so-called Muslim ban, which was basically the same thing as this, but what it was saying was these countries where we can't verify where you came from, we can't have people coming into the country because we don't know who you are. And if we don't know who you are, you could be a terrorist. And these countries are known for terror, so maybe we shouldn't be letting people in. So Bob Ferguson did that case last time, and I knew some time was ticking by, and he's trying to figure out what to say. And he posts this on social media yesterday. Donald Trump's latest discriminatory travel ban is not about making anyone more secure. It will harm our economy and communities across our state, causing disruption, uncertainty, and fear. As Attorney General, I was proud to lead the challenge that struck down President Trump's first travel ban in 2017. We kept fighting and won important victories to limit the scope of that harmful policy. As governor, I will be working closely with community advocates to evaluate the specific impacts to Washington. My administration will do everything in our power to stand up for our neighbors and mitigate the harms to our state. Hang on a second here. He didn't say challenge in court. He didn't say defeat this. Did the Trump administration, part 2, learn its lesson from part 1 and realize this is something we can write differently and then a court can't shut it down again? He's saying he wants to mitigate the impact on the community. Well, the impact on the community last time was you wanted terrorists in the country. In fact, do we remember who your client was last time? You need to have a client. You can't just sue over a law. There has to be somebody who claims harm. Last time, you picked a terrorist-aligned organization. That was your client. The Council for American Islamic Relations, otherwise known as CARE, an unindicted co-conspirator in the Holy Land Foundation trial. I feel like a broken record bringing this up all the time. But his client was literally a terrorist-affiliated organization. Do you know what the Holy Land Foundation trial was? The Holy Land Foundation trial, largest terror trial in U.S. history, was about the Holy Land Foundation, which at the time was the largest Muslim nonprofit in the U.S., funneling money to Hamas. And you're saying that CARE was an unindicted co-conspirator in that case? Which means who else might have been funneling money to Hamas? CARE. Interesting. On top of that, since October 7th, CARE has been revealed to have more ties to Hamas. They didn't say, well, we were almost caught this time. Maybe we should go on the straight and narrow. No. They only doubled, tripled, quadrupled down on their support of Hamas, their support of terrorist organizations. Let's not forget that locally, people who are affiliated with CARE are the ones who are organizing these walkouts in support of terrorism in our schools. They're the ones who are brainwashing children to support a terrorist organization. They honored Bob Ferguson at their dinner for taking on this lawsuit. Gee, why would a terrorist-affiliated organization want to stop a travel ban on people coming from countries controlled by terrorists? Gee, that's a shocker. So when you say you want to mitigate the disruption, you say you want to make sure more terrorists are coming in? Because we've had a pretty big problem with that recently. I don't know, Bobby Boy. Maybe you might have heard about something that happened last weekend in Denver, Colorado. A guy with the Muslim Brotherhood who decided to go try and kill Jews. Maybe you heard something about that. Maybe you've heard a little bit about a few of these things that have been going on. But it looks like Bob Ferguson says, yeah, we're going to do this again. We're going to double down on this. At minimum, you know what he's saying? What Democrat Becca Balint said the other day during a town hall meeting. I apologize for the crudity of her statement, but she said the quiet part out loud about why she wants these illegal immigrants in the country.
Labor, and of course, we have to come to a place in Congress where it is no longer a political issue, but we see it as an existential issue for the country. If we don't have avenues for people to come here legally to work or to build a home here, I'm going to be really crude right now. We're not going to have anybody around to wipe our...
Yeah, wipe our... I'm stopping it there because you got kids in the car. Wipe our you-know-whats. That's what she did there. Yeah, so here's the thing, guys. They're saying exactly why they want these illegal immigrants in the country, which is insane. What, you want them to not just pick our crops? You want them to wipe our you-know-whats? What is wrong with you guys? That's what you're saying? So you want the terrorists and you want people to do slave labor for you? Because that's what sounds like you're all pushing, which is beyond crazy. Absolutely beyond crazy. Now, some Democrats have gotten the memo. The memo they've gotten is, this is an 80-20 issue, and maybe we shouldn't be supporting the spouse-abusing, human trafficking, drug-dealing gang members. And maybe we should actually say, you know what? Maybe we should crack down on the sanctuary city stupidity. So according to Fox News, a pair of bills cracking down on sanctuary cities passed the House of Representatives this week with support from multiple Democrats. On Thursday, the House passed a bill to relocate Small Business Administration offices from jurisdictions that shelter illegal immigrants. The legislation passed the House in a 211 to 199 vote, with 5 Democrats joining the GOP, including Harry Cooler of Texas, gee, I wonder why, Laura Gillen of New York, Don Davis of North Carolina, Jared Golden of Maine, and Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez of Washington. Why? They're all in purple districts, and they're worried about losing their seats. That's despite House Democrat leaders urging lawmakers to vote against the bill. SBA offices at the regional, district, and local levels would be required to relocate if the administration publicly designated their locations as sanctuary jurisdictions, which means why should we give business to these places? They're making us work harder to round up the illegal immigrant criminals and gang members. I did see this headline. Mike, you're going to like this one a lot. I saw this headline from Como News. So we're talking about the forms of ID you need, especially when traveling these days. Here's the headline from Como. No, Costco card does not qualify as real ID. Are people really trying to use their Costco card as real ID? Are you kidding me with this? That's pretty funny, though, by the way. I actually think that the Costco ID is a lot more robust than some other IDs I've seen in my life. I remember what was our fake IDs when we were younger. Not that I ever really needed one. I had facial hair at a young age. All right, school IDs. Those were the ones. Yeah, when I was a bartender, that was an automatic. Yeah, I don't believe it. You're not getting served tonight. So, what are the 12 countries that they're banning people from coming from? Afghanistan, Burma, Chad, Congo, Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Yemen, Equatorial Guinea. And they're partially restricting Burundi, Cuba, Laos, Sierra Leone, Turkmenistan, Venezuela, and Togo. Yeah, because these are places that I'm sure they really check who's who and verify ID in Iran. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from Ian in Tacoma. Ian, what's going on?
Well, the Democrats are so confused. They don't know which way is up. I've seen Democrats calling for the release of the Epstein files. I've got a diehard lefty friend in San Francisco saying that Cali shouldn't be given any taxes to the feds because the feds are allegedly going to cut Cali's funding. They're practically going libertarian in some areas.
Did you see their tweet yesterday that said, kill the bill, release the Epstein files? And I go, whoa, you guys like Elon Musk all of a sudden?
I was so confused by that.
That's the Democrats. You know, I love how a lot of people on the right are theorizing that this whole lovers quarrel between Donald Trump and Elon Musk was just to mess with the Democrats. And let's not forget, Donald Trump has done this kind of stuff before, but the memes coming out of it and the things that you think are memes but are actually reality, I had to double check that because I thought for sure somebody had photoshopped that, but no, that actually came from the Democrats' account.
There's a reason there's a not Babylon Bee these days. It's getting that bad.
Yeah, I think Washington made it in there yet again. Ian, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Speaking of terrorists being let into the country, a Michigan man, here we go again, has been convicted on federal terrorism charges after a jury found he attempted to provide material support to ISIS and illegally possessed a destructive device. By the way, if you're from these other countries, why do we now all of a sudden say you're from Michigan? Mike, do you guys ever call me a Seattleite? No. You go, Ari's from New York. Ari's a New Yorker. That's what he is, right? If Americans go traveling overseas, they don't automatically become Romans, right? If you go to Rome, you don't automatically become a Roman or an Italian or a German or anything like that because you live there for a little bit of time. You're an American. You stand out. So why is it our media around here, it's always, a Michigan man, not a Michigan man. We go back to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from Leonard in Shoreline. Leonard, what's up?
Oh, nothing much. I am just coming off the high right now from getting a letter from Social Security telling me that I'm now officially retired.
Oh, congratulations. You know? That's good. Are they going to be able to pay for that now?
Well, since I'm no longer on Social Security disability, I'm now officially on Social Security retirement.
Well, congratulations. That's a big day. When you say hi, and I know you take the light rail every day, I was a little concerned, by the way.
No, I was a little happy about it. I was happy about it, you know, and I got a couple of congratulations, one from my caregiver and one from my brother.
That's wonderful. You know, allow me to give you your third congratulations of the day. Congratulations, Leonard. You have yourself a wonderful weekend, my friend. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. And speaking of blue jurisdictions that are going down the toilet, have some breaking news when we come back about our very own Seattle is losing yet another huge business conference thanks to the crime, homelessness, and protests. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Our friend Jonathan Cho broke this story shortly before we went on air. Seattle restaurateur David Meinert says that the Microsoft Build Developer Conference won't be returning to Seattle next year because attendees complained about urban decay, open-air drug use, and numerous tents lining the streets. So what did he post over on social media? Mayor Bruce Harrell's downtown activation plan is not having the success he claims. I can tell you firsthand how poorly the massive spending on different city agencies is going due to the inability for them to communicate and work together, which is 100% about lack of leadership. Now Microsoft is canceling Microsoft Build in Seattle. It has taken place at the new convention center with 4,000 in-person attendees. The reason, quote, was the leadership and attendee experience walking the convention core from the Hyatt Regency to the Arch Building on A Street. The customers cited the general uncleanliness of the street scene, visibility of individuals engaging in drug use, and unhoused individuals, including the recurring tent in the Arch Tunnel. Microsoft has previously addressed these concerns, and Visit Seattle has been working actively with SPD, DSA, the CARE team, and others to try and solve for them. Unfortunately for Build, it was a contributing factor to their final decision to move out of Seattle. So normally, Seattle does this thing where, oh, we got a convention coming to town. Quick, let's clean up everything. They left a tent, not just in the tunnel going to the conference itself, but they left tents everywhere. And as if that wasn't bad enough, they didn't sweep out all the crime. And then on top of that, you let Hamasniks be throwing glitter and paint and protesting and coming into the conference. No wonder Microsoft just says, bye-bye. Now, the question is how long until Microsoft says, you know what, we don't want to pay these taxes either that the Democrats just slapped on us. And does anybody else want this Redmond campus? You guys can use it for affordable housing if you want. You guys can take it. We'll take the tax write-off. We are out of here. I actually think this is the first step. It really, really is. But here's something else. I was kind of curious, not concerned, curious about this. It's cruise season. I literally see one of those mega cruise ships out my window right now. It's going to go out to sea at 4 o'clock like they always do. We can see it right out our window. And I was surprised because I'm seeing more homeless people in the downtown core than I usually do during cruise season. And also in an election year, this is usually when they get cleaned out. This is usually when they get pushed elsewhere because politicians want to keep their jobs. But no, it doesn't seem like that's actually happening. Also, it looks like crime isn't getting any better. I kid you not, I checked the date on this story to see if this was new or old, because this happens so often. Mike's going to get excited about this one. This is from Como News. Workers at a North Seattle marijuana shop are cleaning up damage from what appears to be a smash-and-grab burglary. Greenworks Cannabis is on North 105th Street on the edge of Crown Hill and Bitter Lake neighborhoods. Now, I'm looking at the pictures of this thing, and it looks like somebody did the usual. They ran a stolen car into the gate to break in. Now, this store looks like it's been hit before, and they have the giant bollards right in front of their business, and it looks like somebody must have done some serious damage and hit it again and again and again and made a space just barely open enough for somebody to get into. But even so, that's tens of thousands of dollars in damage to this building. This is the same thing we see repeatedly, again and again and again. And here's something else, my friends. Do you know the solution? The solution to everything around here? Tax it. Just tax it. You know, King County Executive, the new one who replaced Dow Constantine, her name is Shannon Braddock. So she has proposed a new revenue measure. That's not revenue measure. It's new taxes to offset the county's $150 million budget gap. So they're going to increase sales tax and use tax. That was authorized by the Democrats in the Washington State Legislature. They're going to do that, claiming they're going to hire more police officers. Does anybody believe that's what they're actually going to do with the money? Of course not. That's not what they're going to do at all. They just want more of your money. And I'm going to prove it to you. You know what I did? I sent them a request for comment. I sent a request for comment as soon as I got this press release. And I said, are you going to audit Homeless Inc. or any of the other failing agencies that are or underperforming agencies before you decide to raise taxes to look for waste, fraud, and abuse. And as of this moment right now, that was about 48 hours ago I got that email. Hang on a second. Let me check my email right now and see if I got a response from them. Yeah, nothing whatsoever, because they don't want to do that. This is just an excuse for them. So they claim they're going to hire more cops with it. I don't believe you. Here's another story, which I thought, is this just a summer story? Is this a season? No, it's not rock throwing. It's not that. What is it? The Seattle Times had an article about more copper wire thefts around Washington bridges and freeways. I had to check the date again. And when I saw it said updated, I go, oh, updated from last year? Updated from 6 months ago? Updated from when? No, it's just updated from this morning. They had a few additions to make. Wire thieves cost Washington highways $500,000 this year. They just hit again. When you have rampant crime that you allow everywhere, businesses start closing and start leaving. Conferences start closing and start leaving. And you don't have the people downtown you used to. And maybe that's why you have the massive budget gap you do. But also, it becomes a cycle. Because there's nobody downtown on a weekday, the homeless move in. And things get worse and worse and worse and worse. This is how Seattle dies. It looks like we are on track to becoming San Francisco. Oh, yeah, yesterday they announced that a whole bunch of restaurants are now closing. On top of that, with a James Beard chef, huge deal, by the way, because those are very well-performing, well-deserving award restaurants. They're now closing, once again, citing the same issues again and again and again. And the cycle continues. How long until we actually become San Francisco? When we come back, my friends, Democrats just don't know how to strike while the iron is hot. They could be benefiting off this whole Trump-Elon Musk fight. Instead, they're just making fools out of themselves, and I'm just getting the popcorn. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. The Democrats never miss an opportunity to miss an opportunity. You've got all this back and forth between Trump and Musk, and while it's not good for the Republicans, it's not. The memes have been very entertaining. I notice the left isn't the one making the memes. It's everybody over on the right, because the whole situation's just funny. I enjoyed the one where Donald Trump is putting a bumper sticker on his new red Tesla that says, "I bought this before I knew Elon was crazy." That's funny. I saw one where Barron Trump is over his dad's shoulder while he's in the Oval Office at the Resolute desk on a computer. And he's saying, "No, Dad, post this, post this." That one's funny.
One of the ones I saw was the 2-button meme where
Yes.
the guy's sweating trying to make his choice there.
Yeah.
Build Elon a statue or burn a Tesla. Democrats.
I hadn't seen that one yet. That's a good one. There are tons of great memes about that, and they're all being posted by everybody on the right because we can look at ourselves and laugh. We can look at this situation and laugh at all of it. In fact, I'm sure Zach has a whole bunch of jokes about this coming up at 4:45 during Fake News Friday today. But while everybody's making memes and having fun and all this kind of stuff, the economy is actually getting better. Slowly, but it is getting better. Here's CNBC. Hang on a minute. They're not my little black book of the right-wing media conspiracy. Here's what CNBC has to say.
If we look at the earnings from a month-over-month perspective, it comes in up 0.4, much better than expected. We were looking for up 0.3 in the rearview mirror. At least up to this point, I don't see revisions. Up 0.4. That would equal January of this year, which was the best read. To find a higher read, you're back in August of last year. Now, let's look at average hourly earnings on a year-over-year basis. Hotter than expected, 3.9. That's a couple of tenths better we're looking for. 1/10 higher than the 3.8 in the rearview mirror. That equals the first 2 months of the year, which were the highest. To find a higher number, you're going to Dece of last year when it was 4%.
So, wait a minute. Let me make sure I got this right. The jobs market is looking better. It's improving. It's not where we want it to be yet, but it's improving. It's going to take a while to dig out of this hole. Hourly wages are going up. Aren't these all good economic indicators? Yeah, sure seems like that to me. But then you have James Carville. Okay. James Carville, a little past his prime. The last time the dude won an election was Bill Clinton. And at the same time, James Carville is normally the one who's known for his hot takes. Now, dude's gotten way older. Dude's gotten way crustier. And now the Democrats have to deal with what he said on a podcast the other day. In fact, it looks like they haven't dealt with a deep-seated problem in their party. Let's listen to what James Carville had to say.
I tell you who this exposes in a more profound way. And I hear this all the time. You go to try to raise money from like really wealthy Jewish fundraisers. And it said, "Look, James, I Democrat, but I can't be a part of party because of what happened at Columbia." Well, what the did the Democrats have to do with what happened at Columbia, by the way? Mm-hmm. All right. But you because they have some students at Columbia who, generally made an ass of themselves.
Okay, hang on a second. No, that's not why, James. Do you remember Chuck Schumer was the one who told Columbia, "Don't deal with your anti-Semitism problems, don't deal with your terrorist problems. Just keep your head down. It'll all blow over." Do you remember the Democrats going and visiting the Gaza encampment? AOC, Ilhan Omar. Ilhan Omar's daughter was charged as part of this insanity. They went there to say, "We support you. We love you. You're fantastic. Keep supporting that terrorist organization." Oh, never mind the fact that your supporters are the teachers who are encouraging all of this. That's what they had to do with it, James. Oh, he wasn't done yet. He's just getting warmed up.
Well, I can't do that, but I can be for a party that everybody endorses the alternative for Deutschland. Read the modern incarnation of National Socialism, if you will. And I just find these kind of people, I literally, my instinct is, and they tell me that. They look me right in the eye. And no, you just want your tax cut. Now, that doesn't apply to most people, most Jewish people see right through that. But the ones that don't see through it, they just don't really, at the end of the day, they just want their tax cut. And you can see it every day.
Okay, hang on. let me break down the crazy old man's rambling for a second here. Did dude get high before this? Did he get drunk before this? Is he just going senile? But what you're saying is the Jews just want their tax cuts, so they voted for Donald Trump. Was that a Jewish money thing you just did there? And now what are we talking about? Now we're talking about James Carville, who basically is a spokesman for the left. I saw some Nazi comparisons in there. I saw him downplaying what happened at Columbia. I see him using some anti-Semitic. Do I think he's an anti-Semite? No. But at the same time, this is one of your leading thought makers, policy makers. This is one of your guys. Democrats. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from Johnny in Mill Creek. Johnny, what's going on?
Hey, Ari, it's been a while. Great to be on your show again. Hey, just a couple of thoughts, and then I want to hear your thoughts. So, number one, there's this multifaceted, but the center of this plate with this Trump and Elon thing is, my theory is he's trying to distance himself. And then, which is actually not a bad strategy.
Wait, which him? Who's trying to distance from who?
Musk is trying to distance from Trump.
Okay.
Yeah, and then two, it's like, this is just too much drama for me. I don't even care. Every post or when I see posts, and I say, like, I put on a GIF, wow, too much drama for me. But the real thing here is, the real story is, like, look at the economy. Like, the GDP reported to be over 4, projected to be over 4. All the major indices are up. The MCSI, the Dow, the NASDAQ, they're all positive for the year now. This is awesome, but I can't really connect all this. So
here, I got you. Here we go. This whole drama thing, I agree. It's too much drama for me. Let's just get Andy Cohen. Let's get a couch. Let's put these guys on it and have it out reality show style. Let's just have a reunion episode. In fact, I think Andy Cohen tweeted, hey, I'm willing to do the reunion show. So let's do that. But here's the problem. If all this hadn't happened yesterday, what would be the top story of the day, Johnny?
That the market's up, GDP's roaring.
Yep.
I didn't see the jobs report.
Right, but all this stuff is doing great. The jobs report's a little lacking than where we want to be, but you know what? We still got a lot to fix. And I did like what CNBC said. There were no revisions, so it wasn't like what happened during the Biden administration, where the following month they revised the numbers from the previous month. No, they're still going up and up and up, and that's positive news. But instead, every mainstream media news site, what are they still talking about? Trump and Musk, Trump and Musk, Trump and Musk.
Yeah.
And we're still talking about Trump and Musk, even though we're talking about the job stuff. So that's the problem. If they wanted to be a distraction from something, you guys just missed a good news cycle. Johnny, good to have you back. Good to hear from you again. Enjoy the sunshine. Enjoy the warm weather, my friend. You got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. When we come back, I have the audio from the Washington State Patrol graduation yesterday that interfered with the flag-raising ceremony for the Pride Brigade. Oh, dear. We'll play that for you when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KBI. Yesterday, we told you the story about how Bob Ferguson forced the Washington State Patrol to apologize for how dare they have a graduation ceremony at the same time as the raising of the pride flag at the Capitol campus in Olympia. Because apparently the LGBTQIA2SLMNOP plus minus sign amperstamp crew got offended when they saw a bunch of police officers. They got offended that they were walking near them while they were raising. That's not even the pride flag. I don't even know what kind of flag that thing is. So I was kind of curious, and I wanted to see, because these events were at the exact same time, if Bob Ferguson made it to both. Because we know he was the one who was so excited about raising that pride flag. He was so excited about it, he didn't seem as excited at the Washington State Patrol event. So I went back and looked for the video on YouTube, found it over on YouTube, and before they do the Pledge of Allegiance, before they present the colors, before any of that other stuff, you've got the Washington State Patrol reading the forced apology from Bob Ferguson. Now, let's remember that Bob Ferguson consolidated all communications of all departments of the state under his office when he first came into office. That's one of the first stories we did about his administration. No communication unless approved by my office. So this guy from the Washington State Patrol, is reading out of a binder, like Karine Jean-Pierre, clearly got a script in front of him that was given to him by Bob Ferguson. This long apology. And what's crazy is, if you watch the video, and I posted over on my social media, Ari Hoffman Official, Facebook and Instagram, the Hofffather over on Twitter, you see Bob Ferguson nodding along like, yes, I told him to do that. That's what it's like this whole time. Like a little bobblehead. Listen to this insanity.
We are glad everyone is here today, and as some of you may know, while our cadets were marching into the Capitol earlier today, our route unfortunately and regrettably interfered with the annual raising of the pride flag in front of the building. I'd like to apologize to anyone in attendance of either event who was made uncomfortable or inconvenienced due to this situation, and assure you there was no intent to offend or distract from the flag raising. The error was ours, and we apologize. The Washington State Patrol is made up of and offers our enthusiastic service to all individuals and communities in our state. Our motto is service with humility, and our mission is to protect, defend, and respect the rights of all. Please accept my apologies for any miscommunication and missteps on what should be a great day for us all as we enthusiastically celebrate pride and dutifully celebrate humility in our service to our shared great and welcoming state.
And after that, they presented the colors. After that, they did the Pledge of Allegiance. That shows the priorities here in Washington, and Bob Ferguson bobbing his little head along, like Mao, just sitting there. Yep, love it, good stuff, keep it coming. Just sitting right there. What a little dweeb. Really, that's what it is. This is what they prioritize here in Washington, the pride flag over the Washington State Patrol. Let me tell you something, those guys keep your rights secure. Those guys protect you. And here's something else. Interfere with the raising of the pride flag? They walked past it. I'm sorry you were triggered by the Washington State Patrol's hats. I'm sorry you were triggered by their bow ties. But this is crazy. And it shows the lack of priorities. Yeah, I'm sure Bob Ferguson really loves law enforcement, like he says all the time. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, take a call from Ron in Tacoma. Ron, what's up, man?
Well, I'm more confused about the triggering over the masks. If I'm not mistaken, the party that is triggered over masks, they used to be the party of mandated masks.
Yes.
Am I missing something here?
Oh, yeah. Now they want to ban the masks on the ICE agents. But these are the guys who used to say, oh, no, we got to mandate the masks for everybody and let the Hamasniks wear the masks. So mandate the masks for COVID, let the Hamasniks wear them, but nobody else can wear them, right?
Yeah, exactly. And, they don't want to talk about because this is an issue of covering the faces, covering things up. Well, they're also the party that covers everything up with either court orders preventing you from knowing who your accusers are,
or AutoPen.
Whistleblowers.
AutoPen, right? I think we
there you
found out
go.
today that the only one that got signed by Joe Biden himself, the only pardon, was Hunter Biden's. Yeah, can't wait for that Karine Jean-Pierre book. Not. Ron, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give me a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Lots more to discuss as the show rolls along. Coming up next, our local FBI thwarted a teen's attempt to shoot up and blow up a Washington mall. We'll have that crazy story for you when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and on the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, could voter ID and other safeguards be coming to Washington state elections? Plus, we got Fake News Friday. Put a smile on your face heading into the weekend. But before we get to all of that, we go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from Les and Alan. Les, what's going on?
Hey, there's a couple things there, Ari. Number one, it seems crazy to me these days that you could be applauded for burning an American flag and jailed for burning a pride flag. To me, it seems absolutely crazy.
Our priorities are a little out of whack in this country, aren't they, nowadays?
Yeah. Number two, the Bible has some God promises, and one of them is that those who bless you will be blessed, and those who curse you will be cursed. Mm-hmm. And, I want to be on God's side on that one.
Oh, thanks for listening to the show, then. Thank you. Appreciate that. What else is on your mind?
Oh, well, that was about it there.
Well, that's a nice message heading into the weekend. That's a good one for it.
Get ready for a fishing weekend. Yeah, the one thing that Washington State did for us is they did give us a free fishing weekend, and I'm preparing to get a church group out to go fishing this weekend.
I have to tell my father-in-law. I'm not sure he knows about that. I got to get the downriggers back on the boat. Les, appreciate the call. Appreciate the kind words. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. How about some true crime now, huh? So the FBI has thwarted a teen's plans for a mass shooting and bomb attack at a Washington mall. A juvenile from Columbia County, Oregon, is in custody following the discovery of meticulously planned mass shooting and bombing plot targeting the Three Rivers Mall in Kelso, Washington. The FBI's Portland field office, working with local law enforcement, arrested the suspect the morning of May 22nd. Due to the individual's age, the suspect's name has not been released. According to officials, the FBI received a tip on May 19th about an imminent threat. Investigators quickly identified the source and discovered that a local teen had shared plans for the attack in online chats and exhibited what the FBI described as nihilistic, violent extremist ideology. That's a basic way of saying is that the kid was anti-family values and normal civilization, is basically the way that's summed up. Over the next 2 days, the FBI and its partners monitored the juvenile under court-authorized surveillance. By May 22nd, agents and deputies executed a federal search warrant and arrested the suspect before the plan could be carried out. Authorities say the plot included detailed blueprints of the mall, a designated attack route, a plan to use chlorine-based improvised explosive devices to spark panic. The suspect allegedly intended to open fire on moviegoers as they fled a theater, then take his own life at a predetermined location inside the mall. The suspect even planned his or her own wardrobe. The FBI said, quote, "This plot was as serious as it gets. We, along with our community partners, moved swiftly to interrupt this violent plan and to protect our community." Law enforcement described the suspect's preparations as alarmingly advanced, stating there was no indication the teen was not serious about following through. They said community safety depends on early detection and intervention. We urge anyone who sees something suspicious to speak up. Now, the juvenile suspect, we found out today, is 14 years old. 14 years old, and they were considering something like this. What do you think we would find in their social media if we dug down a little deeper, if we actually got their name and were able to find it out? Apparently, they were in nihilistic extremist chat groups. But here's something else. You know what's great about this case? And I can't believe I'm saying great. But we used to be stuck in a cycle where we would hear this person was on the FBI's radar. Oh, and there were red flags and we missed them. Isn't it nice when the FBI is actually focusing on law enforcement and not political nonsense, that they can actually do their jobs? What did we say the entire Biden administration? We would say time and time again, there are good men and women in the FBI. They prevent a ton of crimes. Unfortunately, they're being tasked with dumb things. Unfortunately, they don't have the resources they need. Look what happens when the grown-ups are in charge. All of a sudden, this could have been a terrible tragedy, and we'd be reporting it. And how would we be reporting it? The same way we always do. Well, you need security guards at the mall, and you need this, and you need that. We would be doing that. But here, the FBI found somebody who was on their radar, got reported to the FBI, and they did the right thing. And they were able to prevent this massive tragedy. This is huge. This is really huge news. Are they going to prevent everything? Of course not. But at the same time, this is definitely a step in the right direction, because how used to it did we get that they would be missing these things? And there were red flags, and they were on our radar, but we missed it. A lot of other things going on with the FBI right now. It seems like there's crime leading back to Washington all over the place. The FBI has arrested a man linked to the bombing of a Palm Springs, California fertility clinic in May. The FBI said that 32-year-old Daniel Jigon Park of Kent, Washington, was arrested at JFK Airport in New York on Tuesday. The FBI said that Park was arrested on charges alleging he provided material support to the Palm Springs fertility clinic bomber. You remember that? By shipping and paying for significant quantities of explosive precursor. Park was arrested at the airport after he'd been deported back to the United States from Poland, where he had fled 4 days after the bombing. If convicted, Park faces 15 years in federal prison. According to Como News, Park and Guy Edward Bartkus, the bomber who blew himself up on May 17th in the explosion, had connected in online anti-nihilistic, here we go again, movement forums and bonded over a shared belief that people shouldn't exist. This is like the plot out of Kingsman. All these guys subscribe to the Samuel L. Jackson thing. There shouldn't be people on the earth. We should just kill them all, and then Mother Earth can thrive, can live. The left is the party of violence. This is where this insanity comes from. The Department of Justice said that Park shipped 180 pounds of ammonium nitrate to Cartkiss in January and bought another 90 pounds to ship to Bartkus days before the explosion. Ammonium nitrate was reportedly purchased by Park in multiple online orders between October 22nd and March 2025. I can't speak English today. October 2022 and March 2025. Akil Davis, the FBI's assistant director in charge, said that authorities found in Park's Kent home an explosive recipe that was similar to the Oklahoma City bombing. Remember that one? Attorney General Pam Bondi said in a statement the defendant is charged with facilitating the horrific attack on a fertility center in California, bringing chaos and violence to a facility that exists to help women and mothers is a particularly cruel, disgusting crime that strikes at the very heart of our shared community. We are grateful to our partners in Poland to help get this man back to America, and we will prosecute him to the fullest extent of the law. FBI Director Kash Patel said Park allegedly sent large amounts of explosive precursors to the man who drove the car bomb to a fertility clinic in Palm Springs, an attack that potentially could have killed innocent people. He only managed to kill himself and also burn a little bit of the door. The FBI and our partners work together to find and hold accountable those who engage in domestic terrorism and other illegal activity. I also want to express my thanks to authorities in Poland for their vital assistance in this case. By the way, if this was the Biden administration, they wouldn't even be calling it terrorism. They'd be calling it workplace violence or who knows what, spontaneous combustion of an unsheltered neighbor. That's what they'd be calling this thing, right? We all know that. On May 17th, Bartkus drove a car containing a bomb into a fertility clinic in Palm Springs. He detonated the bomb, killing himself, injuring multiple people, and destroying the clinic's building entry. The Department of Justice said Bartkus' attack was motivated by his pro-mortalism, anti-natalism, anti-pro-life ideology, which is belief that individuals should not be born without their consent and that non-existence is best. This is literally the part out of Kingsman. This is the plot point out of that movie. Oh, global warming is happening, and we need to save Mother Earth, so we need to kill everybody using their cell phones. Beyond crazy. Absolutely beyond crazy. The left ideology is inherently violent. That's what this is. These are people who are brainwashed. A 14-year-old does not decide to do this kind of garbage on their own, whether through their teachers, whether through their social media, whether through their peer group, whether through politics, whatever the case may be. Kids do not decide to do this kind of stuff on their own unless they are brainwashed or something severely wrong with them. What else is going on in our neck of the woods? According to Fox News, 2 white supremacist extremists and their cache of guns and Nazi paraphernalia were discovered in a suburban Washington state home. Thurston County Sheriff Derek Sanders announced a coordinated operation along with the Army Criminal Investigation Division discovering military-grade weaponry and armor in the city of Lacey near the capital of Olympia. Now, some of you might be asking, Ari, you don't need Fox News for this. You don't need a national outlet. You're the one who's always criticizing the national outlets and saying they don't know enough about what's going on locally to do in-depth reporting. Why aren't you covering this from one of the other local outlets? And I'll tell you why. Because their coverage of this was the most biased thing I've ever seen. You would think that there is a Nazi hiding in every corner of Washington state based on the coverage of this story. And yet Boulder, Colorado, they went out of their way to avoid saying the guy was a Muslim. During the thing in D.C., they went out of their way to avoid saying that the guy was a crazy leftist who was pro-Hamas. They did everything they possibly could. And then as soon as this story comes out, there's Nazis everywhere. They're threats to all of us. They're going to storm the Capitol and kill all the Jews. They'll kill us all. They'll kill us all. That's why I didn't read this from the local media. Sanders announced a discovery in a Facebook post and said that the CID asked his office for assistance Monday as an FBI Special Weapons and Tactics team execute a search warrant as a result of a violent robbery and theft of military weaponry and armor. Sanders' statement said 2 people were arrested and then booked into Thurston County Jail for investigation of firearms-related offenses. Their names have not yet been released, but despite request to set the bail at only $5,000, Superior Court granted the prosecutor's request and set bail at $500,000 each. Imagine if we did this for all criminals that did bad things like this, like drug dealers, like human traffickers, like murderers, like illegal immigrants who kill cops and not reduce their bail, judges. Maybe we should just slap a swastika on all these criminals, and then they'll be treated like this guy. Look, I'm not saying you should excuse the Nazi. Definitely not. I'm not saying you should excuse the Nazi who is planning to do very, very bad things. But isn't it amazing how the media covers it when it's a Nazi versus when it's a Hamasnik or an actual terrorist attack or an illegal immigrant who kills a Washington state trooper? A killer is a killer is a killer. A person who's planning terrorism is planning terrorism regardless of the color of their skin, regardless of the armband they're wearing, regardless of the headband or keffiyeh they're wearing. Terror is terror. If you want to look at the bias of this, just look at how the local media covered this story about the Nazis. You would think there's a Nazi in every single corner. The pair compiled a stash of short-barrel rifles, an MG-42 machine gun, grenade launchers, explosives, body armor, ammunition, and ballistic helmets. Multiple rifles were also staged at windows throughout the residence. Photos of the stockpile captured the 35 firearms distributed through the Washington state home. Along with the store of firearms, authorities discovered Nazi paraphernalia through the home, including a red Nazi flag emblazoned with a black swastika, pro-Nazi literature, and artwork that was framed depicting Adolf Hitler. So the suspects in this case were actively involved in Nazi white nationalist efforts. Additional information is expected to come out soon, but you can't trust our media to cover these stories objectively because they never, ever will. What will they do instead? They'll try to make it sound like every single bedroom in Washington has a Nazi hiding there. Except what's more likely is that there's a lot more Hamasniks in the state than there are neo-Nazis. We see them marching in the streets all the time, and they have the same toxic, dangerous ideology as the guy who killed those 2 young kids in Washington, D.C., as the lunatic who firebombed and flamethrowered elderly people at a peaceful protest in Boulder, Colorado. If only the media was objective enough to treat them all the exact same way. When we come back, my friends, we are going to honor those who gave all so that we could have the freedoms we do. We're going to talk about the anniversary of D-Day when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, coming up at 5:45, your last chance to win two tickets to see Creed at the White River Amphitheater on August 14th. We're also giving away a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card and so much more. Yet another reason to always keep your radio tuned to 570 KVI. Left on your dial, always right on the issues. You can also stream us at KVI.com, download the KVI app, and of course, subscribe to us on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. One of my biggest life regrets is that I didn't ask my grandfather enough questions about our family history, about his own history. My grandfather, I've mentioned before, was in the Navy, and I know he was a commander on a missile destroyer, on a destroyer, and that I know he had a lot to do with submarines as well, and I know he was in the JAG Corps, but I don't know the stories. I should have asked more about the stories. I should have asked more about his experiences. And I don't think I realized how deeply it affected him. Clearly, he was proud of it. I remember one day, just because he knew I liked this kind of stuff, he just walked in the room in full military white dress uniform, just to show off. It might have also been because he was trying to see if he could still fit into it. But he just walked in the room. He must have been 70-something years old at that point. Fit him like a glove. Just walked in the room, saber and all. Had the whole deal, just walked right in the room. It was really funny. I think I was watching Top Gun when he did that. So, I remember was that I would always go visit them in Chicago at the end of the summer, and we would always see whatever big summer blockbuster was out. Sometimes I had already seen it when I was a teenager, but I knew my grandfather wanted to see them with me, and I would take him. I remember when I took him to see Saving Private Ryan. And I remember after that opening scene, how he was just absolutely shaken. And he was in the Navy. He wasn't even on the beaches. He was on the ships. And it freaked him out. And I wish I had used that as an opportunity to ask him to tell me some stories about it. And unfortunately now, I'll never get the chance. When you put priorities on American history, on being proud to be an American, on the flag, on the armed forces, you're going to get more recruits to that kind of stuff. When you put the priority on DEI, you're going to get more recruits for that kind of stuff. Well, wouldn't you know, the U.S. Army has already hit its recruiting goal for the year. In fact, most of the branches of the military have already hit their recruiting goals for the year. What is it, June? So halfway through the year, you already hit your recruiting goals? Because this administration puts the emphasis on the correct syllable. Yes, they put the emphasis on the right things in this administration. So, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. I love that every time he goes somewhere, it's inspiring, but at the same time exhausting to look at the pictures of this dude because he clearly works out a lot, and I clearly don't. And everywhere he goes, he's doing PT with the guys, whether it's the Navy, whether it's the Marines, whether it's the Army, and he's clearly putting the emphasis on these things. So he was on Fox News today discussing what he was seeing in Normandy because he's there for the anniversary of the D-Day invasion. He's there to remember all those who gave so much to protect our freedoms and save the world from the Nazis. Here's what he told Fox News.
Well, just incredible. You know, in fact, I started my morning doing PT on the beach. Rangers from the 75th Ranger Regiment right there on Omaha Beach, just about at the exact time that the first landing craft would have hit. And I'll tell you, it's pouring now, of course, as it happens. You look back toward the land from the beach and you realize there's nothing there but German guns. And these men were willing to charge toward the guns with almost no chance of success, especially in those first waves, and they did it for us. So we just finished a ceremony here at the Arlington Cemetery where over 9,000 Americans are buried. And there were about 25 World War II vets still there, still here. And I had a chance to meet every single one of them after the ceremony. And they all said we'd do it again. We did it for freedom. We did it for our brothers. We did it for our hometown, for those that we loved, and for those that are still here in the cemetery. So it's just a reminder, 81 years later, guys. And the contrast of those 100-year-old World War II vets and then those 25-year-old Army Rangers that I did a workout with this morning, like that kind of, the blood of fighting for freedom still pumps in the veins of Americans. And we still raise those types. And that's what was really cool to see here today and have a chance to honor them.
I saw a video, you may have seen it too, it's going around social media, which is what they do in Normandy where they rub sand inside the lettering of the headstones of the crosses that mark the graves of the fallen soldiers. And when they brush it off the right way, the letters look like they have gold flakes in them from the sand. It's really actually very beautiful, very touching. And it's really amazing that this administration puts such an emphasis on those kind of things. It actually made me remember what President Trump said back in 2019 when he went out to commemorate what happened in Normandy.
From across the earth, Americans are drawn to this place as though it were a part of our very soul. We come not only because of what they did here, we come because of who they were. They were young men with their entire lives before them. They were husbands who said goodbye to their young brides and took their duty as their fate. They were fathers who would never meet their infant sons and daughters because they had a job to do. And with God as their witness, they were going to get it done. They came wave after wave, without question, without hesitation, and without complaint. More powerful than the strength of American arms was the strength of American hearts. These men ran through the fires of hell, moved by a force no weapon could destroy. The fierce patriotism of a free, proud, and sovereign people. They battled not for control and domination, but for liberty, democracy, and self-rule. They pressed on for love and home and country, the main streets, the schoolyards, the churches, and neighbors, the families and communities that gave us men such as these. They were sustained by the confidence that America can do anything because we are a noble nation with a virtuous people praying to a righteous God. The exceptional might came from a truly exceptional spirit. The abundance of courage came from an abundance of faith. The great deeds of an army came from the great depths of their love. As they confronted their fate, the Americans and the Allies placed themselves into the palm of God's hand.
It was really one of his best speeches. It really, really was. I'll tell you something else is that last year I was at a wedding, and it was last summer, and what happened was I was talking to a friend of mine I haven't seen in ages. He's in the Air Force. And he told me he was over there in Normandy for the 80th anniversary of D-Day. And he told me that when you go to Normandy, I've never been there, and now it's on my bucket list ever since I had this conversation with him. He told me that for the anniversary, there's American flags everywhere. And they say thank you to every American because we freed them. He says they're more patriotic than people on our college campuses. And this is a Jewish friend of mine who serves in the Air Force. And of course, this was after we saw the Gaza encampments and everything that was happening on the college campuses. Not that it's gone better a year after that. But we were talking about how ungrateful the young generation is here in America. And yet in France, even though it may not seem like it sometimes, at least in Normandy, they have raised the next generation to appreciate that America saved them from the Nazis. Dwayne sent me an email. Don't forget, you can always email me, ari@kvi.com. That's ari@kvi.com. He said, I was over there 3 years ago at Omaha Beach. The fear, anxiety, all the things that were hitting these guys when they jumped out of these boats to get on shore. You have to think about that cold water. It was 40 degrees, and that's a whole different aspect. When they're losing their breath and they're trying to get going, unbelievable what these guys did. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you to our veterans. In fact, President Trump said something similar in another part of that speech.
7 decades ago, the warriors of D-Day fought a sinister enemy who spoke of a 1,000-year empire. In defeating that evil, they left a legacy that will last not only for 1,000 years, but for all time. For as long as the soul knows of duty and honor, for as long as freedom keeps its hold on the human heart. To the men who sit behind me and to the boys who rest in the field before me, your example will never, ever grow old. Your legend will never die. Your spirit, brave, unyielding, and true, will never die. The blood that they spilled, the tears that they shed, the lives that they gave, the sacrifice that they made, did not just win a battle. It did not just win a war. Those who fought here won a future for our nation. They won the survival of our civilization.
He's exactly right. That's exactly what they did. And my regret is I didn't ask my grandfather enough stories. I didn't say thank you enough. There are very few of these people, of these heroes, still alive. If you know one, ask them their stories. If you don't know one, find one. Not in a creepy way, but find one and get their stories. Learn their stories. They literally saved the world for all of us. And 80 years later, we still know that. We still know that they saved us. They put their lives on the line so that all of us would have a future and freedom here in the United States of America. And they gave their lives to take down the Nazis and the Axis powers that were trying to dominate the world. Got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. When we come back, could voter ID actually be coming to Washington State? Could we see the reforms we want to see in our voting system? We'll discuss with Jim Walsh when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Well, my friends, the Washington State Republican Party has announced its support for sweeping election integrity initiative that would require voters to show, shock, shock, proof of citizenship and valid ID in order to vote in the state. Wow, what a novel concept. Initiative measure number IL26-126 aims to tighten voter registration protocols and ensure ballots are only sent to eligible citizens. Now, this is all part of a growing effort aligned with the End VBM, End Vote by Mail movement, that advocates for restoring traditional election safeguards, including in-person voting, same-day vote counting, hand-counted ballots, and designating Election Day as a national holiday. Joining us now to discuss on the Warrior Injury Law Studio line is Washington GOP Chair and State Representative Jim Walsh. Thanks so much for being back with us today.
Oh, Ari, it's always good to talk to you. Yeah, we're trying to fix our election system in Washington and restore people's trust and confidence that their vote will be counted and counted in a timely way. This initiative is just the first step. Remember, in Washington, we got pretty strict single subject rules on initiatives. Mm-hmm. They can't do too much, change too much in the law, change too much in policy. So this initiative focuses on one thing, and that is requiring proof of citizenship when you register to vote. That's what the initiative does.
What a crazy idea. We've had problems with this in the past. I know the left likes to pretend we haven't, but we have. Not huge significant amounts. We all have our theories on if there's been huge significant amounts, which we may never know because they haven't purged voter rolls and there's all these other problems. But there have been documented, in fact, many documented cases of this happening. So you would think the Democrats would say, yeah, let's do it. And the only reason they would say no is because they have nefarious intent.
Well, I want to be careful now. Democrats are mixed on this issue. Some do support the idea, but the far left, the left radicals, they immediately start screeching and hooping and hollering that they're, prove the evidence, prove that non-citizens are voting. Well, we have proof. There's Public Records Act requests that have shown internal communication documents between the Secretary of State's office, the state Secretary of State's office, and other state bureaucracies where they acknowledge that non-citizens are voting. Now, they don't say exactly how many. I wish they would, but they're not really looking that hard. But they have acknowledged that this is an issue. So let's fix it. Let's require proof of citizenship when you register to vote. Simple. And I mean, a birth certificate will do, a passport will do, an enhanced driver's license will do. There are various ways you can establish it. If you're a naturalized citizen, which is great, you can vote. Use your naturalization documents. You could show them, like a birth certificate, you're a citizen. Any of those documents will do. And it's a simple step to assure that the right people are voting and that every legitimate vote gets counted. It's a good reform, Ari.
Yeah, absolutely it is, because I tell the story all the time. A couple of years ago, we registered my son to vote for the first time, and he did it all online, didn't have to provide anything, and boom, he was registered to vote. And I just want to remind everybody, I believe it was in Yakima a few years ago, we found a bunch of illegals that were voting in our elections, and the Secretary of State decided to do nothing about it. And nobody wanted to press charges, even though it was in the news. Even though this was a well-documented case, you would think you wanted to do something about it. Now, just to play devil's advocate for a second, because we are the most pro-devil show on the radio, and we often advocate for the devil here, Democrats control everything. How are we actually going to get this thing through any branch of government around here?
Well, it's an initiative of the legislature, same way we restored police pursuits successfully. So we gather the signatures. Basically, between now, there are a few administrative details we still have to get ironed out before we put the petitions out, but we gather the signatures between now and the end of the calendar year, so we got till December. And then if we get enough signatures, which I believe we will, the piece of legislation, the initiative, is offered to the legislature to pass into law if they do it. And mind you, Ari, as I've said, there's some Democrats who support this good reform, so we might be able to get enough votes to do it. But if not, then it goes to the people for a vote in November of 2026, November of next year. So it would not be this election, the one coming up this November. It would be the next one, because we're still going to be gathering signatures through the end of this calendar year. So that's the timeline. The the legislature can do the right thing and decide there's enough bipartisan support to pass it into law. And remember, on these initiatives of the legislature, if the legislature passes it, the governor has no role. The governor doesn't need to sign it and can't veto it. So if the legislature passes it, it just becomes law directly. And if not, it goes to the people for a vote that next November, and that's okay too. Because early indications, our polls and everything we're looking at shows massive support for this initiative, like 80% plus support.
Yeah, it makes good sense. And also this whole vote by mail business, why is it we need 3 weeks in order to get all this stuff in a row when we're using all this technology? I mean, I keep coming back to a country the size of Israel, which is comparable to Washington. So Washington has 8 million people. Israel has 9 million people. They do elections pretty often over there, way more often than we do elections, and yet they get it all counted in one night. Literally one night. We can't get that done here. And for them, they've got even higher voter turnout than we do. So yeah, something's definitely wrong with our system, and these are all good reforms. Now, mind you, we know the governor's not happy about this. We know that the attorney general's not happy about this, and you can only surmise what their motivation might be for objecting to something like this. But you've been on the media circuit for a couple days now about all this, and I would assume a whole bunch of other outlets out there are not happy about this either.
Yeah, I just talked with a fella who's a researcher for a prominent newspaper in Western Washington, and it was a very bizarre exchange, Ari. First of all, he tried this complicated, convoluted, hypothetical complaint about how this requiring proof of citizenship would suppress the vote of minority voters. And he couldn't even keep his own hypothetical coherent. He lost the thread of his theory while he was saying it to me on the phone. And then he just clicked into, well, you're a Republican, and you're a Republican, and you're a Republican. Okay, guy, yeah, okay, I'm a Republican. What is that? That doesn't have anything to do with this nonpartisan good reform to ensure and protect election integrity. Well, you're a Republican. Okay, man, yeah, I got it. I'm a Republican. I understand.
But
it was the strangest exchange, Ari.
But here's something I don't get.
The idea that this kind of person is contributing to the media narrative is just frightening.
Right. Here's something I don't get, though, okay? So I'm a member of the media. I consider myself more of an opinion guy. But when I have you on the show, or when I have your Democrat colleagues on the show, the 3 of them that'll actually come on the show, I just ask the questions. Now, they might be through my lens, and I assume people at the lefty outlets around here do that. But the ones who are actually journalists just want the questions, and they'll phrase them in a certain way to get you to give them the answer. They typically don't interject their own politics into it. Maybe a little bit of bias, a little bit of spin, but they want you to say the thing. They want to try and get you to say the thing. It's a little odd he went off the rails like this, don't you think?
It was very odd, and all I can figure is this is a good reform issue that is not necessarily Republican or Democrat. Like I say, I know there are some Democrat legislators even who would support it. Not a ton, but there are some reasonable ones. And it's a reasonable idea. That's the most frightening thing to the hard left, are good reforms that are not really that partisan. They're just common sense. They don't have any answer for it, Ari. So they need to make it partisan, make it hyper-partisan. And this fellow just was reduced to sputtering, you're a Republican, you're a Republican. Oh, okay, dude, yeah, I got it. You said it like 40 times. I understand.
Yeah, as if it wasn't clear from the Republican representative from Aberdeen and chair of the Washington State GOP. Media in the state is dead. Representative Jim Walsh, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for keeping up the fight on this on behalf of all of us here in Washington who want election integrity. Really do appreciate it.
Oh, no worries. Have a good weekend, Ari, and everybody.
You as well, sir. Got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues, including Fake News Friday. Put a smile on your face heading into the weekend. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.
news you can rely on.
It's called fake news.
With Young Zach.
Educate yourself, you fool.
On the Ari Hoffman Show. Talk Radio 570 KVI.
Believe it or not, the most powerful man in the world and the richest man in the world going head-to-head in a prize fight on social media is not fake news. Young Zach, what do you got for us today?
The Jake Paul-Mike Tyson fight already happened.
That's good. That's good.
It was a snoozer, I've been told.
Yes, exactly.
It's like when the alien fought the predator. Whoever wins, we lose.
Yes.
Speaking of the aliens fighting the predators, it's rare we have breaking news on the Fake News Friday, but I guess it's not breaking. But earlier today, Kilmar Abrego Garcia. See what I did there?
Yes,
An
yes.
alien joke? Maybe a predator joke? Who's to say? But regardless, Kilmar Abrego Garcia is back in the U.S. awaiting trial, and I thought, correct me if I'm wrong, I thought El Salvador only had an MS-13 day return policy.
Oh, no.
Wow. It's not Costco. We're not going to take him back whenever.
Oh,
Right?
no. That's going in the vault with Bud Light bigotry.
That is pretty good. That is pretty good.
I like that one.
I doff my cap to you. Well done.
No battle backs.
Nope.
No battle backs.
Very good. Very good.
All right. Back to the Babylon Bee, or on to the Babylon Bee, rather. Who do this for a living, unlike myself. Babylon Bee, Trump torches Tesla dealership. It's simple.
Yep.
I saw Trump actually putting a sticker on one of those Teslas that said, I bought it.
He did
before
buy
I
one.
knew- yeah.
He did buy one.
Before I knew Elon went crazy. Yeah, exactly. Put it on his
sticker
red
is
Tesla.
accurate.
Yes.
Poor Eric Trump's. I don't want to drive Dad's car.
Yeah.
Actually, the best meme I saw was Barron Trump leaning over Donald Trump while he's sitting at the computer, like helping him. Now write this, Dad.
Well, then Babylon Bee also had judge determines that Trump will get the nation on weekdays and Elon Musk will get every other weekend and holiday.
Elon should be used to that by now, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Another one.
Another one.
Exactly.
The Hard Times had one.
Prolific, you might even say.
Prolific.
Oh, no. Oh, no. No.
There's the emulation of a sprinkler head,
Yes.
by the way, for your home and garden needs.
Yeah, no, you can't do it. Stop right there. I know what's going through your mind, child. It's a family show.
What's going through my mind is the Hard Times wrote a funny one, too.
Yeah.
JD Vance pumped to be getting 2 Christmases.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
I like it.
But the Babylon Bee had one more I like. Due to tariffs on steel, all new Cybertrucks will be made with wood paneling. Bringing it back.
Did you see that guy who decked out his Cybertruck like a
Impossible.
car from? Huh?
Impossible to deck one out.
Oh, fair.
I see what
fair.
you're
I
saying.
see. He had the whole thing wrapped like the car from Vacation.
Yes.
It looks like that thing. It was pretty entertaining.
With the dog collar dragging behind it, too?
No dog collar. I didn't see the dog collar.
What about Grandma strapped to the top? Was that Vacation or was that like was that a
No,
sequel?
you're
That
there,
was the
you're
main
there,
one?
you're there,
Alright.
yeah,
There's
you're
so
there.
many they blur.
Vacation
they blur
the
together.
first.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
all they've ever wanted.
Yes.
There you go. That's good. That's good.
This one from The Onion. New Pope declassifies Jesus crucifixion documents.
Oh, no. Funny, though.
Is Trump in those two? The Democrats, a week ago, Elon Musk is a drugged up ketamine addict.
Yes.
Yes.
And now he's just, he's got all the inside scoop, and Trump's in the Epstein documents. We all knew it.
Yeah, yeah. You would think if they had all that, they would have released it. Oh, I don't know when they were in power at this
Sorry,
point.
that was
but
just real
yeah.
news. That's not the. I
Exactly.
just got worked up over that.
I just like that Democrats and Republicans are now the Arnold Schwarzenegger, Carl Weathers Predator meme where it's both just like release the Epstein files. Like even like the official Democrats at the Democrats Twitter account.
What? Yeah.
All
yeah,
caps,
this happened.
All
Yes.
caps, kill the bill and release the Epstein files!
Yes.
Exclamation point.
Well, then you shouldn't have killed the Jeffrey.
I actually had to go.
Death. Horrible death.
I had to go double check that to make sure that was legit. But yes, it actually was.
Golly.
Actually was. And you know what this is going to be? This is going to be like the Diddy files,
Yes.
right? Because anytime there's this clickbait.
Less slippery.
Oh, no. We don't know that. But we. So every time it's this celebrity named in the Diddy trial, that celebrity, it's like, Well, he mentioned him in passing.
In the oral arguments.
Yes. Yes, exactly right.
No rim shot.
No,
No
you
rim
don't
shot
get it
for
for
that.
that one.
Nope.
No. What else you got, Zach?
Well, these ones aren't political, so we'll just go to those.
Okay.
This one from The Onion, I really liked it. Probably the only one who likes it, but I like it an awful lot.
Yeah.
Give it some juice, report sources fiddling under car hood.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
Give it some.
It's like, hey, Carl, what's wrong with that engine? Ain't got no gas. For like the 3 people on this earth that have seen Sling Blade with Billy Bob Thornton.
Yes.
It's a classic.
Yes.
There was a homeless guy that used to wander into my family shop. That's what my mom called him.
Yep.
If he's listening. Please stop. I don't know.
Just waved on the radio. That's amazing.
Yeah, very good.
Hi there, guys. This one from the Needling Ari Hoffman sent me a post from the Needling.
I did. When
Speaking
they're funny,
of,
they're funny.
The Democrats are wanting to release the Epstein files. Ari Hoffman is sending me headlines from the Needling.
Yes.
What is happening? But anyway, family of the dove killed by Randy Johnson protest his number retirement.
I like that one a lot. I did.
Yep.
I did.
Vaporized.
Yes.
Yeah, friggin' no
in
open
fact,
casket for that pitch.
I went and watched that video like 10 times
Yes.
after I saw that headline.
We all know you love a snuff video.
I do. I do. It wasn't even a person this time.
Well, speaking of the big unit, I've been Young Zach. Thanks for listening.
There you go. Wow. You working on a Type 5 over here? What are you doing?
Between that and the sprinkler head, my
Oh,
God.
my goodness.
Oh, no. Well, thank you, young Zach.
Sprinkler head.
Oh,
wow.
no.
When can we listen to your radio show in the morning?
Yes.
Well, if you're interested in what we just did here, don't. But if you kind of liked it, 6 to 9 a.m. every morning for Ari Hoffman and myself, award-winning journalists.
Right, exactly. Actually, technically, you're not. It's a guy whose last name is spelled differently than
Well,
yours who won.
yeah, it's fine. They put
Thank
2
you.
eyes in it. We'll get through.
Exactly. Thank you, young Zach. Do appreciate it. We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.
Bye.
Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and on the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up at 5:45, your chance to win fantabulous prizes, including your last chance to win tickets to Creed at the White River Amphitheater. But before we get to any of that, I saw the Seattle Times share this over on social media, and I said, are you blanking kidding me? Headline, Washington to study reparations for descendants of slavery. Hang on. Okay, I didn't go to school here, so I didn't learn as much Washington state history, but last time I checked, wasn't Washington created as a state decades after slavery was already abolished? According to the article from the Seattle Times, for the first time in history, Washington State will conduct a study and develop proposals for reparations to descendants of chattel slavery. Approved as part of the state's $78 billion two-year budget signed into law by Governor Bob Ferguson last month, the study will investigate the history of slavery in Washington and identify potential remedies to address its enduring impact. We all know what this is, right? This is just an excuse to do reparations. They're going to do whatever the study says. It doesn't mean that's what they're actually going to do. It's just an excuse to back up reparations. For example, what already happened here in Washington? They did a study to see about redlining in Seattle. And they came to the conclusion, after spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, that there was redlining in Seattle, even though you could have just asked me, and we got the paperwork from my wife's family that had that happen to them. They concluded there was redlining against Jews, and Asians, and blacks. So what did they do? They said, we're going to give interest-free down payments for your mortgage to buy a house to blacks, to African Americans. Wait a second. What? You don't even have to prove that your family was redlined either. Just if your skin pigmentation is the right way, we will give you a free down payment. And then they made it, well, we're going to forgive the loan. That's what they did this year. You kind of left out the Jews and the Asians, so it's discriminatory. And if any of my Jewish and Asian friends are out there and want to sue over this, you can and you will win. So please be in touch with me. Email me, ari@kvi.com. That's ari@kvi.com. I'm sure we can find some pro bono attorneys who want to take this on. And attorneys also, if you're listening to this, you email me, ari@kvi.com. That's ari@kvi.com. So, you guys in Olympia have carved out $300,000 in the budget to fund this study. $300,000. Can we try a little experiment here? Hang on. We're going to do this in real time. You ready? I'm going to the new search engine. I'm not going to the Google machine. I am going to ChatGPT. Ready? Now, I know the answer to this question because I know when Washington State was founded. Washington State was founded, it became a state officially in 1889. Slavery was abolished in 1865. So something tells me there was never slavery here, but let's just put it into the ChatGPT, shall we? Was there ever slavery in Washington State? Give it a second to digest here. Slavery, as it was practiced in the American South, chattel slavery of African Americans, was never legal in what is now Washington State. When Washington was still part of the Oregon Territory, established in 1848, slavery was explicitly prohibited by the Oregon Territorial Government. When Washington Territory was created in 1853, it did not legalize slavery, though there were some isolated exceptions and ambiguities. Key facts. I love ChatGPT. This is great. No legal system of slavery was ever established in the Washington Territory. Okay. So hang on a second here. I will now charge Washington State $300,000 for this one ChatGPT search. All right, tell you what, I'll make you a deal. I'll do it for half. $150,000. You can have my ChatGPT search. I will give this to you. Boom, shakalaka. In fact, I'll even tell ChatGPT to annotate it if you pay me. I'll tell it to do that also. So what exactly is this $300,000 study going to do? Here's something else, by the way. The $78 billion budget, they kept telling us there was a budget gap. You were spending money on stupid things like this. Where's Doge Washington? $300,000 on a study to tell us something we already know? Hang on a second. ChatGPT has an interesting notation down here at the bottom. Oh, this is delicious. You ready? Here we go. Indigenous slavery. Before and during early European and American settlement, many indigenous nations in the region practiced forms of slavery, which were different from chattel slavery. These systems often involved captives taken in warfare. People traded between tribes or held in servitude. The form of slavery was common among tribes like the Haida, the Tlingit, and other Pacific Northwest tribes, and continued well into the 19th century. Summary of the key points. I love ChatGPT. This is amazing. Chattel slavery of African Americans was never legal in Washington state. Individual cases occurred, but were contested or illegal. Hang on a second. If individual cases occurred, then what you should do is go after the descendants of those families for something they had nothing to do with. Go after them. Get the money from them as opposed to taxpayers, right? If we're playing this little game, let's do that. Indigenous forms of slavery did exist before European contact and into the territorial period. Wait a minute. That's not very PC, ChatGPT. That's a lot of abbreviations. That's not very PC. You're telling me that the indigenous nations, the First Nations, were massacring each other and putting each other into slavery before the Europeans showed up? Well, let's take all the money from the casinos then. Why are we doing land acknowledgments? We saved them from slavery. Look at this study I just did in 30 seconds on my computer right here. Isn't that amazing? And they're spending $300,000 on this study? No, you know what it is? It's so they can justify giving reparations, which is insane. So, my family came here 5 generations ago. We weren't around for all that. Why should my tax dollars pay for that when a lot of people came here? What about Jamaicans? Jamaicans weren't put into slavery. Plenty of other people with a different color pigmentation of their skin were not put into slavery. But apparently, if you're black, you can get this down payment. You can get these reparations regardless if your family was ever in slavery or not. This makes no sense. No sense whatsoever. It is just to virtue signal. And it's flat out wrong. Asians were discriminated against. Jews were discriminated against. Italians were discriminated against. Irish were discriminated against. How come we never discuss reparations for any of them? The truth is, lots of countries do things that they're not proud of. And we work to fix that. But they've literally already put a law in place that discriminates. So in their effort to undo slavery and discrimination, they're discriminating against the Jews and the Asians and the Irish and the Italians and anybody else who was discriminated against during redlining. And they're dropping $300,000 of your taxpayer money on it? Why should a nation of immigrants who weren't here when all this happened pay for sins committed by people who are long dead? Why should that happen? This is absolutely crazy. But this is complete virtue signaling and makes no sense whatsoever. And by the way, is unconstitutional because it's discriminating. It's discriminating to give one group of people money and not other groups of people based on the color of their skin. It's not reverse racism. It's just racism. That's exactly what this is. This is absolutely crazy. And one Google search, one ChatGPT search, one Grok search could have told you the exact same thing. In fact, just out of curiosity, let's go over to Grok for a second. I'm going to cut and paste this in here so I don't actually have to type the whole thing out again. I know I'm so lazy. Look at this. Okay. Was there ever slavery in Washington state? Same answer. Same, almost to the word. They do it differently. They put in all this other stuff that they put in here. But almost the exact same thing, and they don't put in the, oh, no, wait, they do. Native American slavery. Right there. They put it in there, too. You know what? We got to tear down that Chief Self statue that's right outside the 5 Points. Mike, we're going to lead a whole bunch of people over there after the show. We'll get a few beers, and we're going to tear down that Chief Sealth statue. In fact, I want to start a new campaign to rename Seattle. You know what? Let's just rename it Hoffman. I never had slaves. Let's go with Hoffman. Let's just do that. I want to rename Seattle Hoffman. Welcome to Hoffman, right? I could do that. I never had slaves. Nobody in my family ever had slaves. We were slaves in Egypt.
Oh, man, I'm going to join Jay Inslee in Idaho if that's the case. My gosh.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, it's as good a name as any. It's as good a name as any, right? Okay. All right. For Mike, well, how about this? We'll just name it Seahawk. Seahawk Land, we can do that? Okay. See, Mike's happy with that. Okay, we'll name it after the Seahawks. There you go, Mike. Now everybody's happy. So when you say go Seahawks, you're also cheering for your town, and you can still say SCA International Airport, Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. We can still do that. This is crazy. Absolutely crazy. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from George in Kenmore. George, what's going on?
Hey, Ari. Amongst my other exploits, my relatives both came here as indentured servants from England. And, of course, you know, the rape and pillage happened from the Vikings in England. But after that, they came here, both of them. And we were some of the first 1,000 in Virginia, but indentured servant. And that's what they called slaves, indentured servants. So really, you can't even pull the race color card, you know. And on top of that, my family came from the Mormon Church on the an offshoot back in Missouri.
Yeah.
We were tarred and feathered.
Yeah. I think you should get reparations for that, right? We should get reparations for that. You know, here's something else, by the way. The thing that nobody likes to talk about is who sold the blacks into slavery. Who sold the African Americans into slavery?
Their tribes.
Exactly. So I don't see anybody going after them for that. Good points, George. Good historical context. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go back to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from my good friend, Alma. Alma, twice in 1 week, my darling. How are you?
Oh, man, I'm getting bad. Listen, give me my 40 acres in my new. I gave it to the
Well, I'll tell you what, Alma, can I get my 40 acres right next to your 40 acres? I want to be your neighbor.
You're not an indentured slave.
Wait, hang on. Whoa, hang on a second. We did the whole slavery thing. Can the Egyptians give us money for that? Do you think we can go to the Egyptians and get us some money for that?
Did the Japanese get money?
Well, wait a second. Weren't the Japanese redlined also? Shouldn't they also get money?
They did get money. Who was that got all them checks and things? You know what, Ori, to be honest with you,
yeah,
we should get something for why not? If not, what? And 300,000 is not enough.
No, 300,000 is just a study. That's just the study. They're not giving that out, Alma. They're going to give out millions, if not billions of dollars. 300,000 is just for the study itself. So, tell you what, Alma, how much do you think you should get?
Well, I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to call them and tell them I want to be a prime candidate for this study. I don't care.
Well,
I don't care
Alma,
how much you give me, but just make me whole.
Well, Alma, I completely hear where you're coming from. I think you and I are going to agree to disagree on this one, but can you promise me something? If you get your 40 acres, can I buy some of them to live next to you?
Sure you can. As a matter of fact, I'll give you an outhouse.
Oh, an outhouse.
Oh,
That's
yeah, I
so
love you.
generous. I appreciate that, Alma. That means the world to me. You have a wonderful weekend, my darling, and thank you so much for the
God
call,
bless
okay?
you. I love you. God
All right. Love you too, Alma. Thanks so much for the call. Really do appreciate it. I mean, guys, are you seeing this stuff here? $300,000 for a survey I just did in 10 seconds over on ChatGPT and Grok. I can do it on Google too if you want me to. So, this is beyond crazy. Absolutely beyond crazy. I want to know what you think. Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Bob in the 509 says, gee whiz, Ari, for the cost of that pro-slavery reparation study, King County Homeless Industrial Complex could remove about 1/3 of one homeless person from the mean streets of Seattle. That's very good. Priorities matter to Olympia Democrats. in these days of budget criticality. Yes, exactly right. Exactly right. Wade says, Chief Seattle, Chief South, utilized slavery. Yes, he did. He had a whole bunch of slaves from massacring different tribes. We all know this, right? We're all very much aware of this. Yeah. This is, everybody's saying this. Michael from Camino Island, many Irish were slaves. Exactly right. This stuff is insane. This stuff is virtue signaling nonsense, and it's discriminatory. It really is. So to undo the sins of our past, we're going to discriminate again? I just want to make sure that's what we're talking about here. Now, there is a ray of sunshine. If somebody actually contacts me, actually emails me, ARIKVI.com, from the Asian community, from the Jewish community, who wants to sue Washington State over this, and we get an attorney, pro bono, who's going to do it for you, so it's no cost to you. Maybe we can get this thing up to the Supreme Court, because there's no way this mortgage nonsense is ever going to be upheld because it discriminates. So we just found out that in a unanimous decision that was delivered yesterday, the Supreme Court sided with an Ohio woman who claimed she was discriminated against in her workplace, passed over for promotions that went to her LGBTQ colleagues. Now, unanimous decision. That means all the lefty judges said it's discrimination to not hire her because she's a woman in favor of LGBTQ people. The question before the court was whether or not a member of a majority group could sue for discrimination using the same burden of proof as those of a minority group. And of course they can. In fact, would you like to know who wrote the decision for the court? This cracks me up. Ketanji Brown Jackson. The question of this case is whether to satisfy the prima facie burden. A plaintiff who is a member of a majority group must also show background circumstances to support the suspicion that the defendant is the unusual employer who discriminates against the majority, and that the Supreme Court holds that this additional background circumstances requirement is not consistent with Title VII's text or case law construing the statute. Accordingly, we vacate the judgment below and remand for application of the prima facie standard. Marlene Ames, a straight woman, was hired by the Ohio Department of Youth Services in 2004 to serve as an executive secretary. She was eventually promoted to program administrator and in 2019 applied for a new management position in the Office of Quality and Improvement. The role ultimately went to a lesbian woman. Ames was removed from her role as program administrator a few days after being interviewed for the management role and accepting a demotion back to the secretarial role she had held when she first joined the agency, and a gay man was hired to fill her program administrator role. This is a person who was there for over a decade. She filed a lawsuit against the agency alleging Title VII violations, and she is 100% right. 100% right. So what do you think they're going to do, this reparations nonsense and this down payment on mortgage nonsense, if it actually gets to the Supreme Court? That's right, my friends. It'll be thrown out in 10 seconds. Please, somebody email me, ARIKVI.com, and let's get the ball rolling on this. When we come back, my friends, big announcement for the Ari Hoffman Show. That's right, my friends. We're going to have a big announcement today, some good news before our good news, and then we're going to talk to our friend Lars Larson. But right now, Todd Herman's Daily Thoughtcast on the Ari Hoffman Show. Friends, heading into the weekend, we got a whole bunch of good news for you, starting with something that happened to our radio group, Lotus Communications. As you know, we were at the RNC, and it turns out our coverage, together with our friends over at Northwest News Radio, our coverage right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI, just won a very prestigious award. Joining me now in studio to discuss this are my co-award winners, and actually I'd say the person most single-handedly responsible for submitting all this for an award, Jeff Pogelo from Northwest News Radio, and Zach from The Morning Show, which you can catch from 6 to 9 a.m. right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Jeff, explain this award to everyone.
Well, it's an award. It's a regional award issued by the Society of Professional Journalists, and it's for best breaking news coverage. And it involved our coverage not only of the assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania on Donald Trump, which happened the Saturday before we all flew out to Milwaukee, but our coverage of the aftermath in Milwaukee and the Republican National Convention as well. So we've been honored by a prestigious journalist group for our work that we did there for that week in Wisconsin.
I have to say, as hard as we all worked, I really give a lot of the credit to the two of you. Because, number one, Jeff, if you hadn't done everything to get us to the RNC, that never would have happened at all. And you did all the legwork to apply for these awards, to get us considered for these awards. So that's a huge deal. And Zach also, for being all the tech stuff and everything that went into that weekend. I mean, I like to joke, yeah, I just showed up. We know that isn't the case. I'm driving around on 2 hours of sleep, missing highway exits and all that.
Yeah.
But this thing would not have happened without the two of you to make it possible for all this. And Zach running around where I go, hey, that dude just went walking by. Zach, go hunt him down. Go grab him. I mean, really, a lot of the kudos goes to the two of you for this.
Oh, well, thank you. Aren't we glad Russell Brand didn't make it on the show?
Wait a minute.
Or Elon Musk.
Well, he wasn't even there.
Hold on. Russell Brand, how did he get involved with the RNC?
He was there.
He was
He was
okay.
there.
I must have been at my
he
broadcast
was there
booth.
walking by, and I did what I did the whole time, where I'm like, hey, there goes Russell Brand. Yeah, Russell Brand. Hey, he's young Zach. Maybe you can find out if we can get him on the show for later. We'll have him on the show
Hasn't
later.
he been canceled?
Yes.
Multiple times.
Very much so.
Okay. And
I
now
like
facing
the
charges.
slick cover-up as if you'd know Russell Brand if he was standing in front of you, Jeff. But that aside, really, Jeff, thank you so much for all the great coverage. I mean, you were anchoring live with State Party Chairman and State Rep Jim Walsh, co-anchoring that coverage live for Trump's acceptance speech. You were in here, I believe, on the air for the Trump assassination. That was on Saturday. When you said the Saturday before we left, that undersells it. This was Saturday afternoon. We left Sunday at like 5 in the morning.
Yes.
This is we already knew we had a long week ahead of us.
I had no idea what had happened. Just to kind of take you back to that weekend, I was packing my stuff, doing the final throwing stuff into the suitcase, and I get a call from Zach. And Zach saying, hey, I can't get a hold of anyone else. Trump has been shot. We probably ought to cover this. I'm like, oh, no. So I'm like, okay, I got to stop packing. I'm rushing into the station to start our coverage. And, yeah, it was a chaotic week starting that Saturday afternoon.
Right, and I remember there was a text thread I remember being on, and I come back on after the Sabbath, and it said something like, well, I think our whole trip just changed a lot because we're literally leaving a few hours. I mean, my wife. So I was sleeping Saturday afternoon because it's the Jewish Sabbath, and that's what one does when you can't use electronics or anything else. And I'm sleeping, and my wife comes in to wake me up, and she goes, hey, wake up. And usually she sends a kid in to jump on me or tackle me or something. And she goes, you got to get up. And I said, why do I got to get up? And she goes, somebody just tried to kill Trump. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Trying to get information when you don't have electronics on all that was really something. But then last night, after I found out about this award, I started pulling video from the RNC of all the stuff that you did, all the people we interviewed. And I can't believe the people we had on the show. I mean, it was a complete smorgasbord of the who's who of the Republican Party, but also the walk-in talks that we did, those interviews, you broadcasting from the arena across the street while I'm now sitting in an empty Radio Row because my show's going later than everybody else while I'm trying to watch it up on the big screen because I'm under the Jumbotron. It was a crazy week.
My favorite interview of that entire week had absolutely nothing to do with politics. I was talking with former Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker about my family's heritage from Minnesota and how I am having ancestors turn over in their graves by setting foot in the cheesesteak.
Well, I think Ari, at least mine, I think might have been one of yours too, was not even an interview per se. I think it was either you, Jeff, or John Carlson who was talking to Senator Amy Britt. Katie Britt, sorry.
Katie Britt, yeah.
And we were just kind of off to the side, usually with the person's communications team or whatever, and her husband happened to be there. And he's a former NFL player, and we just had a great time talking about what it's like to play with Tom Brady and work under Bill Belichick or play under Bill Belichick. I was ribbing him about he's played for Alabama fan, and they had just taken my coach, UW coach Kalen DeBoer, to Alabama, which turns out was fine. They could have him. But at the time, I was pretty upset, and we just had we made friends with NFL player and husband of U.S. Senator.
You wanted to do a sports section
Yes,
with
I did.
him, a
I still
Brit
do.
about sports.
Yeah. Didn't you, Ari, almost kill Katie Britt?
What?
Or something
No,
like that?
John did. He didn't
No, it was
open,
John?
He didn't open the chair well enough.
I'm sorry. No, I almost killed Lauren Boebert.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, well, the chair almost killed Lauren Boebert.
Okay.
Let's be clear.
We had some chair issues.
Zach had a good line about that. He said that chair has almost killed like 6 members of Congress.
So
Yeah,
what
I said we might have
exactly
a few
happened
open
here?
seats.
So I
Okay.
wasn't there for that.
They gave us arena seats for folding chairs. Now, the arena seats, what they are is they're the ones that automatically flip back up,
Yeah.
right? So they give you these 2-packs, which are there, I think it was. It was like a 2-pack of these chairs. So what I realized is if you don't hold it down, your guest comes and just sits down, the chair ain't there no more. And they expect it to be, and I forget who almost fell. But
It was ladies in dresses trying to kind of slide onto it, and it just kind of.
So then we got into a weird thing where my hand is holding the chair down, but they're about to sit down on this thing, and I'm like, I don't want my hand over there, and this is going to end badly. Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
it was
God
not
forbid
good.
Lauren Boebert be caught in a sex scandal.
With Ari Hoffman?
I don't want to be anywhere
That was
near
quite an
that.
insult to my friend Mr. Hoffman,
Yeah,
Jeff.
I do like the picture Zach took where it looks like I'm saying no with my hands up when I'm talking to Lauren Boebert, and we said caption this when it's right there. That was a
But
good
all
one.
this aside,
Yes.
with so much breaking news that happened in 2024, I mean, really, so much breaking news. What an honor to be considered, yet alone chosen, to have the best breaking news coverage of Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, and Alaska, and we were able to pull that off and win it.
Yeah.
So,
from Seattle?
Yeah.
Mike? No one at the RNC. I mean, I think the
Seattle Times,
Times might have
Seattle
sent
Times
Jim
was
Brunner.
there. Jim Brunner was there. He came up and introduced
yeah.
himself to me. Yeah.
But as far as broadcast outlets, we were the only ones.
Yeah. So the thing is, you have this massive news story, and that's something else is that a lot of outlets didn't go, hey, maybe we should consider covering this.
Yeah.
Even given everything, forget the assassination for a second. You have possibly the biggest political comeback about to happen, and you don't think it's worth sending anybody out there? Jeff, you and I very early on said we want to go to this. Zach said he wants to go to this.
The planning for this, because the convention happened in the middle of July.
Yeah.
The planning for it started in late January.
Yeah.
Because you have to go through Secret Service background checks,
Not
all
just that.
sorts of that.
You had to do that for both conventions at the same time. So
Yes.
you guys went to the DNC afterwards, and we went, we just went to the RNC, but you and Zach went to the DNC.
yeah,
where I got the trifecta of sick. Coming back, COVID, what was it? COVID, strep throat, and mono.
don't ask me. I got none of them.
I'm really glad I didn't travel with you guys to that one. Well, I will say is that it's a real honor to share this with you guys. I'm very, very proud of this whole thing. And once again, just my full kudos. I don't want to say me and John Carlson just tagged along. Well, we could make fun of John later. But, I mean, there's a lot of work being
He still
done.
owes you a fish, by the way.
Oh, the fish. Well, but I will say is that you two did the lion's share of the work, and really, really thank you, because this award, in a huge, huge part, is thanks to the two of you. So thank you very much for that.
It was a team effort, and it took everyone involved.
All right. We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. One of my absolute favorite things every single Friday is as soon as I'm done with work, I go home and have a cocktail and a scotch. But my second favorite thing is on Fridays, I get to talk to my buddy Lars Larson, whose show you can catch from 12 to 3 right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Lars, I have very, very divorced parents. So I am used to what is going on in the country right now inside MAGA, inside the Republican Party. There's all kinds of conspiracy theories out there. Can we just chop it up to there's two guys with massive egos and it may just be their bickering, or you think there's something else going on here?
You know what? I want to leave the door open, and I did yesterday when this stuff first started to really break and accelerate, to the idea that this could be fake. They could be pulling a game on us, and that is Trump and Musk. Is it beyond reason that Trump and Musk might say, hey, we're going to have a very public fight. We're going to trash talk a lot. I'm not sure that anything concrete has either been done by either party. Lots of threats. I'll dismantle the Dragon spacecraft. I'll cut you off from your government contracts. But none of that has actually happened yet. So the question is this real, or is this, say, Donald Trump doing a favor for Musk did him a favor. He gave him $250 million to help win the presidency. Trump says, I'll return the favor by putting you in bad odor at the White House, which puts you perhaps in better odor with all the progressives who vowed they'd never buy a Tesla again. Now, is it possible that the fight is just a big theatrical production by the production company of Trump and Musk?
Well, think about this for a second. He had a very public fight with Megyn Kelly when she was on Fox News.
Yep.
Now she's one of his staunchest allies. She speaks at all his rallies. I think of a ton of other people he had very public fights with, except usually it goes the other way. Usually it's, I don't like this person. We're going to have a big blow up. Then we're going to have this kumbaya moment. This seems a little different. I think the Epstein file thing is a huge leap. I mean, it was entertaining seeing the Democrats start tweeting out, release the Epstein files as soon as they thought Trump was in it. But Trump and his crew could really release all of them anytime they want. They don't need the Democrats for that. So I'm wondering if this is just something they're trying to do something else. Are they trying to lower the stock price of Tesla? Are they trying to get people to buy Teslas again because they think he doesn't like Donald Trump? It could be anything going on here, or it could just be two guys bickering.
Well, let me tell you one other theory, and I think we can put to rest the idea that there's anything that shows that Donald Trump was a bad guy in the Epstein files, and here's why. If that information actually existed anywhere in the universe, the Democrats would have dug it out about 9 years ago, maybe 8 years ago, but they would have dug it out and they would have shouted it from the rooftop. So that's number one. Number two, there's an attorney who was hired to buy the victims of Jeffrey Epstein to go out and research this thing. He says, I've been through all the files. There is nothing in them that incriminates Donald Trump. And that's coming from him. And third, I'd point out that there were attorneys the first time that Epstein was accused, indicted, and then got almost no punishment at all for his crimes against girls. And they were girls. They were not women. They were girls. And I still cannot find out why the U.S. Attorney's Office failed to just slam Jeffrey Epstein to the mat the first time he was prosecuted for what happened in West Palm Beach. But the attorneys, both U.S. attorneys and others, said the only one of Epstein's associates who, when we called him and said, we're investigating this, will you tell us what you know? They said one man said yes. And this was a long time before he ran for president or anything else. Trump said, come on down to my office. I'll tell you everything I know. There's a lot made of the fact that Epstein was, for a time, a member of the Mar-a-Lago club. Now, it has always cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to belong to that club. So imagine what kicking somebody out means. You've got to, pay them off. Epstein was seen, I don't know what you want to call it, flirting, putting the move on a 16-year-old girl at the club. Trump saw it or heard about it, came to know about it, and said, kick that guy out right now. Now, this was a long time before he ran for president. He wanted Epstein gone. So everybody who tries to make some indication that there was something nefarious going on between Trump and Epstein, I think that is absolutely categorically untrue. And ask yourself this: if anybody in the world knew that, would the Democrats not have made it public a long time ago in their various efforts against Trump?
Exactly. Let's remember the Democrats also have been covering up the Epstein files for years because we know that Hillary Clinton's husband, Bill Clinton. Oh, wait, hang on.
Yep.
I have to do my disclaimer. I am not suicidal. I am very happy with my life. I have no ill thoughts. Anyway, so Lars, what's your theory? You think it's just two guys with massive egos just going at it, or you think something else is going on here?
It's either a made up fight to achieve some of the goals you and I talked about, or it is just two guys with big egos. And there's one intriguing theory that I heard about that apparently one of Musk's business partners, who is being named, nominated to be the head of NASA. And as people have pointed out, NASA is incredibly inconsequential these days. They are 0.2% of the entire federal budget. They don't have the kind of panache that they might have had 30 or 40 years ago. And so being the director of NASA is like, who cares? But it was an Epstein favorite. He had received a 19, I think it was a 19-1 vote out of committee to approve the nomination, well on his way to be approval. But then there began to be a fight inside the White House among some of the people well below Donald Trump over that. And they decided, let's get even with Epstein. Or not Epstein, let's get even with Musk. Let's torpedo this nomination. And that's what kicked off the fight. And all of a sudden, and I think within the White House, the two personalities are not just Trump and Musk. It's Trump and Musk plus a whole bunch of people on the second and third tier who all have their own ambitions and are all, I mean, this is like the worst reality show that you could ever imagine. All these hugely powerful people, many of them hugely rich and hugely connected, who all are scheming to get power within the Trump White House. And you understand that's the nature of what a White House would be.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that Andy Cohen coming in and having a Bravo couch session with Trump and Musk so they can discuss the fighting would be very, very nice. However, I did
Put
hear
it on
that
pay-per-view.
Yeah, exactly. I did hear that President Trump was going to be selling his Tesla, but then changed his mind and he just put a bumper sticker on there that said, I bought it before he went crazy. I mean, the memes have been absolutely delicious out of this entire thing. Been my absolute favorite part. Lars Larson, you can catch his show every single weekday from 12 to 3 right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Have a great weekend, buddy.
And you as well, Ari.
Only good news to wrap up the show. Your good news giveaway, your good news headlines, your chance to win Creed tickets and a $50 Daniels Broiler gift card. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. It is time to feel good as we wrap up another amazing episode, another amazing week of the Ari Hoffman Show right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. And before we get to our good news giveaway, got some good news headlines for you. This one Mike sent to me. Tom Cruise was awarded a Guinness World Record during the production of Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. They put a dash here, Mike.
Please, it's dash the
Final Reckoning.
Not
okay.
colon,
I
dash.
want to make sure they had that correct here in Variety. By doing 16 burning parachute jumps while filming the climactic plane sequence. And you can go listen to our review over at KVI.com. Mike and I both strongly recommend you go see this on the biggest screen you possibly can. Mike, I didn't tell you this. My father called me the other day about this movie, and he said, I need you to explain a few things to me. I said, okay, what am I going to explain to you? He goes, why does he have two parachutes? And I said, Dad, we've watched how many action movies together? How many movies? There's always two parachutes. You got your main chute and your reserve chute. Think about Air Force One. This is the lollipop, right? When Macy's walking them through how to jump out of Air Force One. It's all there. But I guess you have to have some movie knowledge about that. Otherwise, you go, why does the guy have two parachutes? Yes, I understand that. But still,
I'm more concerned
real?
about why there's a parachute in the chair, in the pilot seat that you could just slip on. That's a whole nother.
That's a whole nother thing, yes. But
There's a lot of disbelief to be suspended when you accept the mission.
Yes. I mean, the whole drowning and all. Okay, but fine. It's a great movie. Go see it. We love it. That's why we love these movies. Cruise jumped to his potential death while his parachute caught fire 16 times. Has dude ever heard of CG? I mean, it's awesome he likes to do this kind of stuff, but that's insane. Paramount marked the record with a new behind-the-scenes video touting the wild aerial stunt. Cruise is heard saying before making one of the jumps, if this is twisted while it's burning, I'm going to be spinning and burnt. I have to kick out of the twist and then ignite in 10 seconds. We're going to be real smart. I'm not saying be risky. We don't take risks, obviously, says the guy who's jumping out of an airplane and then lighting fire to his parachute. That guy doesn't take risks. So I got to say, the stunt was worth it, though. It really is great. But the fact that they had to do that 16 times, you don't go the first time, hey, we got it. We're good. You do this 16 times?
Well, it's further down in the story, but he wanted to go more.
Yes.
At one point, the stunt coordinator starts hiding parachutes. It's like, oh no, sorry, we're all out. And Tom's all like, I thought we had 20. I thought we had nope, just the 16. Sorry.
Well, also you got to think about it's expensive at some point, also, right? Aside from the fact that your lead might kill himself. I remember John Woo. This is nothing new for Tom Cruise. John Woo, a Mission Impossible 2, which you and I both love, is like, you want to do this jump with the rock thing with no ropes, no nothing? I might just watch my movie star just go splat in the opening scene of the movie. That might be that. I'm a poet. I didn't even know it. So yeah,
this is good stuff.
This is amazing. And actually, I think this is something I might buy with the behind the scenes features because I want to see how they did all the stunts. I know they've released a bunch of them on YouTube and social media and such, but some of the stunts were really amazing. And he did them himself. So that's something I actually have a huge appetite for.
To the point that you said earlier, Ari, I know you're just saying it over your shoulder about like, well, have you never heard of CG? But like, there is an authenticity to doing stunts for real that I will always appreciate in the craft of filmmaking. Like,
sure.
Like there is something more real about that dude hanging off that airplane himself than a computer man.
So something to be said for like Top Gun Maverick. I was rewatching it because I do from time to time.
Sure.
I've rewatched so many times I can now spot the CG airplanes. And they use them so infrequently that they're hard to spot, but you can spot them. And, I mean, the F-14. But you can spot them right there. They're pretty easy to spot at times, but you really have to be looking for them to do it because they wanted that authenticity. Another Tom Cruise movie. They wanted the real airplanes in here. They wanted the real stunts, and every single Mission Impossible movie has the real stunts. And that's one of the reasons we keep going back for more. What crazy stuff is the 60-year-old man going to do now? Before I forget, your chance to win fantabulous prizes. Today we're giving away a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card. Check out danielsbroiler.com to reserve a table, place your takeout, delivery order, and more. We're also giving away a copy of 7 Steps to a Successful Retirement by Brian Evans of Madrona Financial and CPAs. Visit madronafinancial.com for more information and discover how you can create a rooted wealth plan today. Last but certainly not least, we are giving away two tickets to see Creed at the White River Amphitheater on August 14th. You can get your tickets now at Ticketmaster.com. All you have to do in order to win these fantabulous prizes is be caller number 10 at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Caller number 10 will win a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card, a copy of 7 Steps to a Successful Retirement by Brian Evans of Madrona Financial and CPAs, and two tickets to Creed at the White River Amphitheater on August 14th. Phone lines are open now. Give Mike a call for your chance to win at 206-421-5757. That's going to do it for us today, but fear not, my friends. We will be back on Monday with more exciting stories, insane stories, and, of course, spectacular guests, and, of course, more giveaways. You've been listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.